You ever get that feeling that what you're trying to say just isn't quite hitting the mark, or that your arguments could be, a little more powerful? Well, the secret to fixing that often comes down to one simple, powerful skill. Today, we're going to master the art of cause and effect to make your communication crystal clear. Okay, let's kick things off with a question I know we've all asked, probably in an airport feeling pretty frustrated. It seems so simple, right? But the way we answer it actually shows a really basic pattern in how we connect ideas in our heads and in our language. And boom, there's the answer. It connects a result, the delay, to a reason, the storm. It's something we do a million times a day without even thinking about it. We're always linking the what happened to the why it happened. And that right there is the foundation of all logical thinking. So this whole system of explaining why things happen and what comes next, it's all built on two incredibly simple but powerful ideas, cause and effect. And really getting a handle on these two is the absolute key to unlocking clearer, way more logical communication.
Let's just break it down to the absolute basics. The cause is the engine. It's the why behind it all. And the effect? Well, that's the result, the thing that happens because of the cause. So the storm is the cause. The delay is the effect. Simple as that. And once you start seeing this pattern, I promise you, you're going to see it everywhere.
To really see how this works in practice, we're going to follow one super simple story all the way through. Right now, we just have two separate ideas. Our goal here is to check out all the different words we can use to connect them and show that one thing actually caused the other. All right, let's get into our first set of tools. We're going to start with the words we use to introduce the cause. In other words, the language we use to explain the why. Okay, now here is the first really important thing you got to get. We've got two main types of words that introduce a cause, and they work a little differently. Conjunctions are for linking two complete thoughts. Prepositions, on the other hand, are kind of like a shortcut. You just use them before a single noun. Let's see what that actually looks like.
So here are our conjunctions: because, since, and as. And if you look at the examples, you'll see they always act like a bridge between two full ideas. The game was canceled could be its own sentence, right? And so could it rained. These words are your go-to when you need to link a whole cause to a whole result.
But now, watch how these work differently. Words like because of, due to, owing to, they don't need a whole sentence after them. They connect the result straight to the thing that caused it. The storm, the rain, bad weather. It's a much more direct, more concise way to get to the point. And here's how we bring it back to our story. We're using because to connect our action, going to the park, directly to the reason. The sun was shining. And just like that, you've taken two separate thoughts and woven them into one solid logical statement. See how that works?
Awesome. So now that we've got a handle on how to talk about the why, let's flip it around. Let's focus on the language we use to introduce the effect, the result of whatever happened.
Words like so, therefore, and consequently are really powerful. Think of them like a big signpost for your listener that says, hey, pay attention, the result is coming up. They create this super clear, logical path from an action to what happens next. And check this out. We're telling the exact same story as before, but we've totally flipped the structure. We start with the cause, the sun was shining, and then we use the effect word, so, to bring in the result. It's the same logic, just a different and honestly an equally powerful way of telling the story. Okay, now for a really cool one. A special structure that adds a little oomph. So, that. This isn't just about stating a result. It's about pumping up the volume on the cause. You're basically saying the cause was so extreme or so intense that a specific result was pretty much guaranteed to happen. So, for example, the movie wasn't just interesting. No. It was so interesting that it had a huge effect. Everyone enjoyed it. This is a fantastic structure to use when you really want to add emphasis and detail to what you're explaining. All right, enough theory. It's time to put all this into practice. Let's connect some dots and see what you've got. You ready? Okay, take a look at this sentence. We've got a cause, she was tired. We've got an effect, she went to bed early. What's the word that fits in that blank to introduce the effect? Take a second. Think about it. Nailed it! If you said so, you are absolutely right. You're making a clear connection between the cause, being tired, and the effect, going to bed. Perfect. Okay, next challenge. A little different. We've got two separate ideas here. How could you stitch these together into one single logical sentence?
You could use a cause word, like because, or an effect word, like so. How would you do it?
And look at that. This is where you really see the power, the flexibility you have now. Both of these are 100% correct. You could start with the result and explain the cause, or you can start with the cause and then give the result. The choice is yours. You are in the driver's seat.
So you see what this all comes down to? Getting a grip on these simple little connecting words isn't just some boring grammar exercise. It is literally like unlocking a communication superpower.
And there you have it. This is your toolkit. Think of this as your own personal workshop for building clear, logical arguments. Over on the left, you've got all the tools for explaining the why, and on the right, all the tools for showing what happened as a result.
And this is why it all matters. This isn't just some abstract grammar lesson, right? This is about real-world skills. This is the difference between an email that gets ignored and one that gets results. It's how you build a rock-solid argument instead of just, stating an opinion. And when you can spot these connections, you just understand everything you read and hear on a much deeper level. By really getting this simple, kind of elegant logic of cause and effect, every single conversation, every email, every presentation you give can be sharper, clearer, and way more impactful. So the only question left is, what are you going to explain more clearly first?